In this video, I'll talk briefly about the silver mirror test, or also called Tollens test or Tollens reagent that you may have heard of. So I'm not really going to talk about the mechanism or anything. I'm just going to talk about what reagent you use and what type of function groups gives you a positive silver mirror test, and how does it look like if it's indeed in a positive silver mirror test. So to begin with, the Tollens reagent. So Tollens reagents is actually contains silver and ammonia. So you typically have to make that beforehand. So it's silver NH3 2, and I got a positive charge. So that is typically made by reacting silver nitrate with sodium hydroxide, and that makes silver hydroxide, and that silver hydroxide typically reacted with ammonia to make this Tollens reagent. So I'm not really going to talk about the inorganic chemistry of it, how you actually make it, but this is how this Tollens reagents look like. Now, if I have an aldehyde, and when we react an aldehyde with a Tollens reagent, and typically it's done under basic conditions, so in the presence of some sort of hydroxide or a base, then this aldehyde gets converted, so I need two equivalent of that. This aldehyde gets converted to carboxylic acid, and then it makes in a silver, and that silver is going to be a solid now because it's just going to crash out, or it's just going to precipitate out. Now, this silver that you got is the one that looks like exactly in a silver in the test tube, and that's why it's called in a silver mirror test. So if I kind of talk about a picture, how would a positive test for a silver mirror looks like? You have a positive test that would look like this, where you can see on the left side, this container actually contains like something that looks like a silver in color. That is actually the precipitated silver in there. So that is going to be for positive. And then if you don't see any precipitates like you see on the right side after you have mixed up all the chemicals and all that, that tells you it's in a negative silver mirror test. That means it does not contain an aldehyde. Now, if I have a ketone, and if I'm trying to run a silver mirror test on it, it's not going to do anything. It's rather going to be negative. That's because, remember, the ketones does not get further oxidized to an acid. So ketones gives a negative Tollens test, but aldehyde gives you a positive Tollens test. So that's the big picture you gotta know. And if you have like few structures, like suppose if I get a structure that's given to you that looks like this, and if someone asks you, hey, which one would give a positive silver mirror test, all you really need to look for is the aldehyde function group. And since the one on the right side does have an aldehyde function group in there, it will give you a positive silver mirror test, or you can say Tollens test. But on the left side, since you have a ketone here, the ketone is not going to give you a positive Tollens test, so this is going to be negative. So in an introductory organic chemistry, this is what you really need to know, like who gives positive or negative Tollens test, and you also got to make sure you know that what type of reagent you're using in this particular case, and what it's really making at the end of the day. So it's just a silver that's just going to be crashing out or precipitating out in the solution.